I'm moving into the streets of London. Let's bring in Juliana Olayinka. Good morning, Juliana. Well, I'm surprised to see you there in the studio. You guys have been forced to stay home, because of these new strict measures to tackle the spread of coronavirus, including a ban on public gatherings of more than 2 people. Just wondering what life is like being under house arrest.
Well, what's life like being under house arrest? For us, well, there's only 2 of us here in the studio today. We're delivering the information to our beloved Nigerian and fellow viewers. So we're allowed into the office, but just for now, because, of course, we heard last night Prime Minister Boris Johnson giving what some people are calling his defining speech of his 5-year tenure. These are unprecedented measures, and the UK has been shifted right into a national lockdown, similar to what we've seen in some parts of Asia and similar to what we're seeing in continental Europe. I left the house just before 7 o'clock in the morning local time, and I can tell you, Chimeze, it was absolutely quiet. The tubes, yesterday there were some pictures showing that they were jam-packed. Today they weren't as packed. There were still some people going into work, and I think over the next couple of days this is probably going to be a huge issue for the government, and there will be questions to answer, not just for Prime Minister Boris Johnson, but of course also the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. Essential workers are allowed to travel, essential being, of course, first of all, NHS staff, those who work within financial institutions, those who work in stores, and some people who work within the media. But because they have reduced public transport within the United Kingdom, and particularly London, it's just so much busier, and it's more difficult to find a train. But at the moment, some of the measures are unclear. We do know that people will be allowed outside of their house for 1 hour to exercise. You're able to walk your dog, but you cannot have a gathering of more than 2 people. So there were some churches that were still open on the weekend. They will be forcibly shut. All weddings have been cancelled. Bar mitzvahs have been cancelled. Mosques are also shut. The only gathering that can take place at the moment are funerals, and that is only the funeral director and the undertaker who'll be burying the deceased.
Now, despite the new curbs aimed at limiting the spread of the coronavirus, Sports Direct says it will keep its stores open. Why?
Well, this is quite an interesting story, but Mike Ashley, the boss of Sports Direct, quite a controversial CEO, he has actually backtracked, and he says he'll be waiting for the government go-ahead before he does want to open his stores. But this is the situation that we're in the United Kingdom. It is quite confusing. When Prime Minister Boris Johnson spoke yesterday, he said that all non-essential stores must close. So if you're selling food, you can stay open. Some people who are selling wine, they believe that they're an essential store. And Mike Ashley's argument was the fact that now that gyms have closed, Sports Direct is the only store in Britain that he says can dress the nation, can keep the nation fit and healthy with some designer trainers and luxury wear. But, he may have been trying to pull his leg, but, following the backlash on Twitter last night, he quickly, refuted the statement and said that he'll be waiting for the go-ahead. But there are some stores that are confused. So, for example, electrical stores, can they stay open? A lot of people are going to be using more electricity than they used previously. If they break down, where do they go? Also, as well, as you may or may not know, Chimeze, a lot of British people do love pets. They do love their dogs. And a lot of pet stores as well. Will they be staying open? So there are questions, but I think over the next couple of days, it's likely to become more clear.
And of course, it's interesting to know that car makers are answering calls from governments to help make more ventilators and face masks to help out during the coronavirus pandemic. Just wondering, from car making to medical supplies, how will that work?
Chimeze, to answer your question simply, I'm not certain. But one thing I do know is that car production plants are so intricate and so vast. And they believe now, of course, that they've shut down, well, most of them have shut down their production plant, that it's quite easy to change the system and start producing masks, start producing ventilators. This is happening across the globe. It started with Fiat in Asia. Now General Ford Motors and Tesla and other American car manufacturers have said that they're going to be doing this, not just ventilators, but the masks. It appears as if masks are exactly the way forward, and that's what the government want. These car manufacturers are working with the government. We're not certain at the moment whether or not it will be for profit or not for profit, but certainly, you know, considering that this is a global pandemic that is causing pandemonium, that the government need all the help that they can get, and these vast production lines of course, can be used in another means to help save lives.
All right, Juliana, we'll come back to you to give us a quick update that will be much later in the day. Thank you, and stay safe.